5 years, a lot, to be honest, yes, because it's either two things. So for some, you find that they're struggling with fertility. So it can be really tough for some people where the first 5 years, 1 year, 2 years, trying for kids, and there's a lot of pressure. It can also put a lot of pressure on the marriage. You know, some can afford IVF. Even going through IVF itself is tough because it's not necessarily that it would, work for those that can't afford IVF. So it can be tough for different reasons. For us, for some as
personality.
Yeah, I think also for some as well. Yeah, you have kids and and then it's like all of a sudden. I know there's some women that feel like, and I'm talking because I also coach a lot of women. You find that women that, all of a sudden kids come in the picture and all they feel like they're doing is just serving their husband, serving their kids, and their dreams, their own dreams, they can't fulfill their dreams. It feels like they've lost themselves, So I think it can be tough. For us, the reason why I would say it was tough was just my whole work scenario, my work-life balance, and not being able to, find a place where I was happy with what I was doing and my family. But once you can pass 5 years, I think the 5 year mark is important. It was the 5 year mark that I started facing temptations, funny enough. I think once you can do 5 years, most likely you can probably push on to the next couple of years.
I think, like you said, it's more that work-life balance issue, which I didn't really see. I think for me, because I worked for myself, technically, even though it's a family business, I controlled my own time. I worked according to my time. And with her, because she worked for a corporation, her timing was, more precise. She had to get up at this time, do things at this time. She'd be out of the house before all of us wake up. She'd be back in the house when most of us are asleep, especially the children. So, yes, and for me, I guess it was that interpretation of personality, because she would come home and I wouldn't have thought about it or respected her lifestyle, that, she's too tired to put things away, or she's too tired to make sure this is done or that, or because her mind is preoccupied with, I have to meet this target, I have to meet that target. But because I'm more of a, well, she says OCD, but it's not OCD. I think I'm more of a professional management.
Professional perfectionist.
I like things in place. So I think that's what really clashed in the first 5 years, The little things, why is the cushion on the floor? Why is the cushion not properly done? Or why isn't the bed linen straight? Or why did you leave the plate here? Why did you put the glass in the sink where it's just supposed to be? All those little things that, are little to her, but for me, it goes a long way. So I think that's what, in marriage, two of you have to learn.
And it's so funny that they say that
different.
That the thing that actually attracts you to somebody is probably the thing that would annoy you the most. Because I remember
opposites attract.
When we were dating, I was actually like, this is very tidy. Thank God. I won't have to clear up after him. I can, very happy. But now I'm like, okay. Well, then I was like, okay. It's a bit fun.
Going 11 and a half years back.
To our wedding day. Wow. First of all, I was late for church. So I didn't even walk down the aisle. I had to go through the side entrance. My poor dad, only one daughter, and he didn't get to walk her down the aisle. But the wedding was really, we get people that still talk about our wedding. Yeah. That it was one of the best weddings that they've attended until date. It was really, really amazing for me, because personally it was at a time where we were going through serious financial challenges. I'm still going through financial challenges in the home, and so I wanted a really nice wedding. And so I just used to pray to God and say, God, turn our water into wine, turn our 2 loaves and 5 fish and 2
loaves and 5 fish.
2 loaves and 5 fish, into overflow. I would always use the point of contact and say, Lord, the first miracle you did was at a wedding in Cana, where you turned water into wine, and it was literally, God just showed up. Our wedding was amazing. Like, it was a Muson Center. It was nice. We had people that flew in some of our friends that flew in for our wedding. It was nice. We had so much fun. We had what we wanted. So I think even, at the time, now a lot of parents are a bit more calm now. Kids can do what they want. But at our time, it was more like it was a parents thing and it was just boring. Like guests were just, the bride and groom would just attend. But for us, we were one of the first that actually had what we wanted, and the parents actually loved it and they enjoyed it. So it's actually the older people, even people that were in their 60s at the time, were like, I had so much fun. Those are the people that say, that recollect our wedding the most, not even our age mates,
but people that are older. They had
I think for me,
11 and a half years ago wasn't about the wedding. It was just, I'll be honest and maybe selfish, it was about me. I was very excited. My clothes were already ironed, everything was set 2 nights before. 6 months before I knew what I was going to wear anyway. So I was more excited about just being present on the day. Like she said, she was late, which was a bit of a shock.
Did you think I wasn't going to come?
Of course not. I didn't think you weren't going to come because it's way too late for you to change your mind. I think it was more...
You're not seeing African magic.
No, for me it was more... They were actually late. But I guess, in hindsight, everything happens for a reason. But for me, I was more... It was about me and her. I can't even remember the faces of people that were there. It's until I watched the video or look at the pictures. The only thing I remember for sure was, the prayers after the ceremony. Was really long. Because her family, she's got aunties, uncles. Her family lineage is so long.
It's because people were dancing and he just kept thinking, we're missing out.
Yeah, because that's my wedding. My wedding, I'm supposed to have fun. I'm supposed to be dancing. I only dance for an hour.
It's those prayers that have kept us till today.
I know it's good, but then
yes, to the prayers.
So for me, it was, if I could do it again, the only thing I would change, and I'll be honest, is I would want the reception to roll over till when people are literally tired and say, look, I've had enough, let me go. Not that, it's time to close up, because I know people that have stayed, even if there were no drinks, no food, I know a lot of people that have stayed because of the atmosphere and the ambience. So 11 and a half years ago, I'll go back.
And we had 2 weddings actually, because we did our registry, the legal in London, and that was nice because it was just us and some of our close friends. So that was really nice. And then we were there for 6 weeks, so we did have a good time to just be together, and then we came back to Nigeria as well. So it was good.
Yeah.
How did we meet? We met at my cousin's wedding. I was a bridesmaid and he was a groomsman. So then during the wedding reception, he came to ask me if I was somebody. Somebody's sister. But I used to get that a lot because people used to say we actually did look alike. And I said, no, I wasn't her. And he asked for my name. And that was it. And then a few days after, I think we just kept bumping into each other. At the time, it was Christmas in Lagos, and back then we were young. We used to go out clubbing almost every evening, and so we'll meet each other. We'll see at the clubs, but we didn't speak again for another 3 months, and then he called me one day.
Okay.
Is that how it went?
Yeah, I think that's how. Yeah, actually, yeah, it was.
But I think what was really, really interesting about how we met is that, like 3 months before that, I was having a conversation with the person that got married, who happens to be my cousin's husband, who happens to be one of his best friends. And I was in England. He had come. My cousin's husband he was my cousin's fiance. He had come. I think maybe wedding preparations. I went in the house and I was like, do you have any fine-looking, friends that you can introduce me to? I just come out of a very long relationship, and I was like, oh, not really. Then he goes, actually, there's one guy that I think you would that you guys would get on really well. He's really nice. He's a serious guy, one woman kind of guy. And that was it. And I don't even think he had the conversation with him. And coincidentally, the same person that he talked about is the same person that ended up noticing me 3 months after. So I guess it was meant to be. How were we able to balance? intimacy, sexual intimacy with kids. I don't think that there's no manual to it. It really, for us, it just happens, I guess. Like, it didn't really change anything.
No, nothing changed. Obviously, we're over the moon when we found out she was pregnant. But for me, I was more concerned about having a daughter. And I would say that I always wanted a daughter first, for all the reasons I can't explain, but I always wanted a daughter first. I didn't want a son. And, First of all, obviously, of course. But when our daughter came, I was over the moon. It didn't change our relationship. Obviously, for her, it's a new experience as a mother because she's got that natural inclination. Is the baby okay? Is the baby crying? For me, I was like, I guess because I've had experience with my nieces and nephews, certain times I'm like, look, leave the baby, let the baby cry, Crying has never killed anybody. I'm sure I cried enough times. But she's like, no, the baby's crying, this and that. I'm like, let the baby cry. So really, it didn't change a part of me. But for a mother, I guess, after going through 9 months of giving birth and that emotion of pushing and all that, her emotions obviously fluctuate. But again, because, and I believe we're meant for each other, it didn't change our biological relationship.
Yeah, because there's some people.
We're friends and we always used to go out.
How important is communication and respect in a marriage? I think, especially communication. Communication is everything, and lack of communication almost.
I think it's the other way around. I think respect should come first. I think respect should be an innate thing, something within you.
Exactly.
Then you can communicate. I think that's both.
Respect should really be. It should be a natural thing, but I guess communication, you have to work at it because sometimes life happens, and with life you can just neglect it. So you really have to work at it, and it is so important because, like I said, communication was something that really, really affected us. So while I was going through my whole phase of I wanted to resign from my job, and I felt like I couldn't because I felt like I wouldn't be able to live the lifestyle that I wanted to based on my own childhood fears. Not that we couldn't survive on my husband's salary because we eventually had to and we were okay. But those things, I was going through a lot, and I felt like he wouldn't be able to understand. Not that he wouldn't be able to understand, or not that he didn't understand, but in my mind, I just thought, he wouldn't be able to understand. And I then began to disrespect, and we began to go through, then began to almost go apart. So we would go through days, if not 2 weeks, and so without communicating. And at that point, I had started seeking God. Like, God, you're the only one that could do this for me, and I started praying and fasting. And in fact, it was in that time of fasting that, I was coming back from a work trip, and then I met someone on the plane, and that became a battle of temptation for 3 years. Eventually I fell, but in that process, we were not communicating. So I kind of feel like communication is so important, because if you leave a gap in your marriage, the devil would fill it with something. It will fill it with something, whether it's, even if it's not another person, it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be addictions, to porn, it could be anything, so it's important that two people communicate. It's so important that you talk. It's so important because life can be hard. You are both going through different things. You're supposed to be there for each other so that when one person is feeling down, the other can lift the other person. When one person is feeling weak, the other person can be strong. But if you are living in the same house and you can't, so now our communication is a whole lot better.
Well, it's better. It's not 100%. It can never be 100%, and I'll be honest.
It's a whole lot better. But also, I guess I'm also at a place where I understand that, at the end of the day, no human being can complete you. Every human being has their own weaknesses and their own struggles. At the end of the day, it is only God. You can only really depend on God for everything. And so when you have that, when God feels there's that vacuum in you, then another human being is just there to complement, not to feel what only God can feel. If that makes sense. Question time.
Questions, right? Okay. Also funny.
Why did you marry me?
Cliche question. Why did I marry you? Because I was meant to. It's as simple as that. I was meant to.
You say meant to as in what, forced?
No. As in, I believe it was ordained. I believe you were. Because I'd prayed about it. During law school, I was praying that, God, please get me through law school. And most of all, I need to get married. I need a wife. And it was you. So you were meant to be my wife. Okay, when you think of the first time you saw me, what can you remember about seeing me for the first time?
First time I saw you was at...
And don't lie, I remember the first time.
It was at Babashala Angela's engagement.
Yes.
And I noticed you, that guy, fine boy, but then you were dancing with someone.
Me, not the someone, me.
You were dancing with someone, so I figured you were taken, so I was like, whatever. But yeah, I felt not bad looking.
So you weren't concentrating on me?
I was.
No.
John Olubenga. What do I say to you? I don't think a lifetime would be enough to just say thank you for all that you are to me and all that you've been to me. For me, I always wanted to have someone that would be an amazing father to my kids, and that was one box you definitely ticked, and that would have been okay for me. But to me personally, you have been everything and anything that I could have wished or prayed for. In fact, if I had to write a prayer point, if God had given me a sheet of paper and said, write all the qualities that you want in a man, I would have fallen short because I didn't even know that I would have needed some of the qualities that you have, because I feel like God has just really blessed me with the very best. You were made for me. You have held me. You have been a pillar. You have been a pillar of support through some of the toughest times of my life. You have forgiven me. You have covered me. You have loved me. You have stood beside me, even with some of the things that God has asked me to do. Some of the things that some other people will be like, are you sure it's God? Or people think you're crazy. Some of the craziest things, God will say I should go and use the most expensive venue in Lagos for my conferences, and you will stand by me. God will say I should write a book that, tells all and exposes all and may make other people even think or judge you or say you're weak or whatever. But you have stood by me. You are my best friend. You are my confidant. You are everything. And I just want to use this opportunity to say thank you. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I may not say it, I may not show it. Just 3 weeks ago, you took me on a holiday of my lifetime. You complete me. People see me and they say, oh, the virtual woman, she's doing this, she's doing that, but they don't know that without you, I wouldn't be able to do all the things that I do. People say I inspire them, but you are the one that inspires me. You're the one that impacts me. If you don't allow me, if you don't give me, sometimes I'm not even able to cater to your needs because my mind is completely focused on the things that I'm doing. Like this conference is coming up, am I there saying, oh, Benga, are you okay? Are you hungry? But you just allow me to be. You allow me. And so whatever heights that I achieve on this earth, credit will go to you. No matter how many people that I impact, millions of people, I know God is crediting your heavenly accounts, and I know God is so pleased with you. So God bless you, my love. God bless you. God keep you for us. God protect you. God give you long life. I just pray that you live to see and harvest the seeds that you have sown, not just in eternity, but also in this life. I love you so much.
Omilola, how would I say this? It's been an amazing journey to have been married, or to have married you and to still be in marriage with you. You've been all and more than I could have ever wished for and asked for. I said earlier that you're loving, you're passionate, you're caring. You're all that and more. Yes, a lot of times I did not answer you, or I did not seem to be physically present, but yes, I am always emotionally present. The emotions run deeper than you know. You've been an amazing partner, amazing wife, amazing mother. I see this more and more each day, especially after what we've been through. And I really thank God for what we've been through. I know it was all for a reason, and that book says it all. I know it sounds as if I'm selling the book or preaching the book, but it shows how much you love me, for you to have been obedient to God, to have written the book. And the reviews and the impact people talk about and what people mention has led me to tears many times. Not just because of what people are saying, but because it's so true that God is so loving and so amazing that the best thing He's ever done for me and given to me has been your love, your life to share with me. And I pray that we'll share more of this life and whatever else comes out of it. And one thing I would like to say to you is, I remember you mentioned what your greatest fear was about marriage, about what people will say, what people will think. Don't concern yourself with that at all, because like God said in Matthew chapter 19, in the beginning He created them male and female. And for that reason, a man shall leave his mother and his father and cleave to his wife. I will always be there for you, no matter what people say, no matter what people think, because they're just people. People are not eternal. People don't last forever. People come and go. But it's the love and our soul, which is why God searches the heart. And it is your heart that the Lord will search, and that part of your heart that is eternal is what He will preserve for you and preserve for us. And I pray that that is what God gives you and crowns you with. And don't worry yourself about what people say or what people think. That's just life, and life comes and goes. So I love you very much. I know you love me more than you can ever say, and I see that every day in our children. And I thank God for our children. I thank God for the way we had them, in the order we had them, and the names we gave them, most especially the names we gave them, because in hindsight, it's a blessing to name your children appropriately. I could go on and on, but I'll save the best for the moments that we'll share in our future. And my prayer is the 3 places we mentioned that we'd love to go to, I pray that God will allow us to find time to visit those places. And thank you, and all my love to you.